Good evening, plebeians, and welcome to your Friday night edition of RCM on Tap, your 60-ish minute roundtable discussion show where we go behind the scenes of YouTube, RivalCast media, and the internet in general. And this week, with our good friend RagTagg! Yay!
Huzzah!
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I would say welcome to the fourth chair, but you'll see that Biomed Alchemist is not with us, but with me, as always, the ever-loyal Killer McCoy will be helping facilitate discussion this evening. So thank you, Killer. I appreciate your...
Wait, do we have conversations?
Of course we have conversations.
I thought we just yelled at each other while
No, that's
drinking.
you and me. That's you and me yelling at each other.
Oh.
The others have conversations about questions and topics and things like that. Apparently we write stuff in that magic hat, and then they talk about that while you and I are nitpicking. I see it in the videos afterwards. Like, I'm surprised by it too, but, you know, apparently things happen.
Alright. Got it.
Anywho. But yeah, so I'm like super excited about our guest today. So RagTagg, for those of you who haven't been privy to the fantastic videos that are on his YouTube channel.
Why aren't you watching them?
They're amazing. They are amazing. I got hooked. Somebody sent me, so this was months and months and months ago, sent me some videos of this really funny guy that, you know, he did voices for orcs and played a lot of World of Warcraft, but he was doing a playthrough of Skyrim, and they knew I was a Skyrim fan, so they sent me the videos, and I laughed so hard I fell off my couch and actually hurt myself a little bit. So I had to have him. I had to have you on our show.
I feel really bad now. I've caused you an injury with my videos. That wasn't what they were meant for, you know?
It was all right. It was all right. It was all right.
A lot of people would be proud of that. I mean, come on, your actions from a distance cause someone else to hurt themselves. That's a lot of power.
Ocean, no less.
I know, given what I do for a living, that's not a good thing.
That's okay, I'll give you that.
It was all right. I survived. It was beautiful. I was able to reach up and click to the next video, so it was all good. But so I mean, but you've been doing this stuff for quite some time. You know, you recently, well, I say recently, but within the last few months, you started doing a lot of streaming on Twitch as well. But I mean, what got you from, you know, okay, I'm a guy who likes to play video games, to, hey, maybe I should start recording this stuff and putting it out there for the internet to see?
Oh my god, yeah, the transition from gamer to YouTuber was kind of an accident, because I never intended to make more than just one video. So I've obviously gamed as long as I can remember. I think as soon as I could hold a control pad when the Atari came out, that was it. I was hooked. So gamed my entire life, and the Twitch community, when that started, I wasn't interested in it because I didn't understand why anyone would watch someone else play a game. I thought you just play the game and you play with other people, but why would anyone watch it? So it kind of hit me a brick wall with it, if you like. But as far as it came to making YouTube, I was playing World of Warcraft, and I just had this friend who was always broke, and every day was a new story about how he spent his gold. And I just couldn't believe how he managed to do this. So he'd come up to me and I'd say, oh, I gave you 1,000 gold. What would you do with it? He went, oh, I spent it on this, and I bought that in the auction house. Like, dude, you bought that in the auction house? Don't buy things, make them. So I was kind of upset with him that he just had this kind of bad beat story every day about how he lost his gold. So one day I thought, that's it. I'm making him a video about how to create gold. So I just did like a how to make 500 gold in 5 minutes in World of Warcraft. But I thought I would do it as a kind of you know, just almost like a really sarcastic video. So I thought, if I, you know, make use of a character I've not used much yet. So I just had this Orc Warrior boosted, and yeah. So I didn't really talk like an orc then. I don't even quite know how I spoke. I mean, it was a bit more like, I don't know if you've seen the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings films. It was a bit more like Faramir that I sounded like. I didn't really sound like an orc, but. You know, but I just wanted to sound goofy, you know, but maybe slightly articulated and slightly sort of middle class. I couldn't really think how I wanted to sound. So I did that, and after I made the video, he thought it was funny, and a few of my friends thought it was funny. So it didn't really get that many views, and then I thought it was good fun. I enjoyed the creative process. I enjoyed sort of putting the video together, and then, yeah, after I just had a kind of a good feel about it. So then it just led to making another video a few weeks later, and then another one. And eventually, it kind of got traction in the way that, a couple of the videos kind of just picked up. And I never intended to talk like an orc ever again. I didn't actually think this will be the channel. The whole gimmick will be I will, basically make every video talking like an orc, which I don't do every video now, but, so I've refined the orc speaking somewhat, and now there's a bit more gruff to the voice and whatnot. But really, the whole thing about YouTube was, I guess it was a nice, pleasant, wonderful accident that just kind of became like a part-time job now. So that's kind of how it started, to answer your question.
Yeah, and you said that you never expected to use that orc voice again. Did you? I mean, in your wildest dreams, because you have a single on iTunes where you're singing as the orc.
Oh my.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I kind of do both.
Amazing. I'm just gonna say.
I kind of sing in my own voice, but then when it gets to the chorus, I bring out the orc.
Oh God.
So yeah, it's. I don't know if am I allowed to say the title of the song, or is that not a permitted word?
Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, the title of the song is "Chop Off Your Balls,"
Right.
so,
See,
which is kind of like
you don't see the overlay right now, but I do a synopsis of our guests for the viewers as they're watching the video, and what I wrote for you is welcome RagTagg, firefighter, ball smasher, and generally entertaining guy. So,
yeah, all right, okay, so
we are a mature channel here. We're good.
It gives a bit of pretext to what I've just said. Then that's good. Yeah, no, the singing thing again is like how can I explain this? It was again that wasn't intended to be a single. I only actually did that because people kept sending me messages and kept commenting and saying, "Please, will you release this?" But I was like, "No, it's just a dumb video that I made, So I've done that with other videos as well. I've sometimes put a little song at the end of it, and people have said, "Please, can you release it?" And I thought, well, why? So I've got a very low opinion on what I think of my own videos, and I've never been able to change that. Even today, I released another video, and I was sat thinking, should I let this go live? Because it probably is absolutely rubbish. And that is basically why my videos are a particular length. It's partly to do with my attention span, it's partly to do with what I think of myself. But I actually don't think I'm that funny in game. I just can't bring myself around to that. So it's a comedy channel where the guy creating all the videos thinks he's a fraud and a hack. So yeah, that's the lowdown, I'm afraid.
It's better to be that than be arrogant, prideful, and actually have the talent. I would say.
See, in Scotland, there's a kind of an upbringing completely different from probably a lot of other countries, in that you're not allowed to think of yourself in that way. It's a really damning way to live, but in Scotland, a lot of households bring the children up to be humble, and you never brag, you never boast. You basically have to say that you're not good at things, and that's if someone gives a compliment to a Scottish person, they're rubbish at taking it. We don't know how to take compliments, so we usually just kind of avoid eye contact. And if someone says you're really good at this, we all say no, we're not, we're rubbish. And if someone says no, you are good at this, we literally don't know how to take it. So it's quite difficult to get a Scottish person to smile and say thank you, I appreciate that. I've had to learn to do it, but it's still I get a cringe every time I do. So yeah, it's really, really strange. So there you go. That's Scottish people. We are the humble nation.
I just feel like the more you know, Rainbow should flash right by.
Oh, it's attached to the wall. I was gonna grab the star one to do that, but it's like
right, the star one
attached to the wall at the moment.
What am I missing? I don't understand.
Oh, there's like little public service announcements there. They would have some person talk about something, but blah 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 blah. Now at the very end it'd be like the more you know. Basically, at the very end, it'd be a shooting star
shooting across the thing with the words "the more you know" coming out the end. It's a very
right, okay,
yeah,
yeah. A lot of animations have made fun of it or stuff like that.
Well,
I think Family Guy's done it a couple of times.
In the United States, it just seemed like when we were growing up that just like every show that you watched had that commercial in there at some point. Like, just talking about some issue or something, and then the more you know at the end. So.
I have to
Gotcha, we
find it
didn't
for
get
you.
that.
So RagTagg, you've been playing World of Warcraft for eternity. You've been playing video games for what seems like eternity.
Yep.
What's your favorite game that you've
Oh
played?
no!
Like historically and currently? I know that's a tough question, but
Oh man, I
Sophie's
wasn't ready for
choice.
that. I mean, because it would be a cop out to say World of Warcraft because it's obviously like it's the makeup of my YouTube channel. It's pretty much
Yeah.
everything I do. It's where it all kind of started. But yeah, oh, that is a tough one because see, when Skyrim came out, that was basically something I'd never seen before, and I didn't think we would ever see again. And that is probably my favorite game in recent years. But my favorite game of all time was one called Final Fantasy VII, and that came out mid '90s on the PlayStation 1, which I'm sure most people will have heard of because it's been remade now anyway. That's my two games of all time I would go for. But yeah, so if it was a top three, it'd be like Final Fantasy, Skyrim, and World of Warcraft. But it's because each of these games have kind of shown me things that I just didn't think were possible. So Final Fantasy did this massive sort of 50-hour, 100-hour gameplay that I just hadn't powered that much into a game before. And Skyrim basically took me into a place where once I was in the world, I didn't want to come out. And then it was like I just sort of started neglecting personal hygiene and work and all that kind of stuff when Skyrim was there. I was just pummeling days and days at a time into it. And yeah, it's like when you have your breakfast and then you blink and then it's like 2 a.m. You think, wait a minute. So yeah, I lost concept of day and night with that game. And then World of Warcraft was like the transition from the Warcraft series, which I played all of them as well in the 90s. And Warcraft 1, 2, and then 3 became like this sort of open-ended MMORPG. So yeah, it's basically just that exact thing, is that every time something that has rocked my world in terms of what a game can do, then I've been interested. And I'm not talking about graphically, because I think a lot of retro or older gamers, I'm not saying I'm old, I'm in my prime, but a lot of retro gamers, people that like older games, are in it for the experience, they're in it for the story, and they're in it for a level of immersion, some kind of escapism maybe, but I don't think of it as just a look at this, we're now filming in 2K, look at this, we're now doing this, because that often bores me, because if it lacks substance, it's a big problem for me. So the big budget games don't really do a lot for me unless they've got longevity to it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think for gaming wise, we've kind of gone down the wrong track. Oh, it's got to be prettier and prettier and prettier. They have better scenery, better models, and they neglect the actual gameplay. So the gameplay of the old classics, they still hold up today compared to our current games we have. So yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I actually think that the gaming industry has been in big trouble for the last sort of 5 or 6 years, and I'm not getting grumpy about it. I just have been looking forward to games less as they come out. So there are very few things that sort of rock my world as such. So I think that is a major problem that they haven't yet solved. And the only thing I would say I'm grumpy about, if anything, is cooperative gameplay is not good enough, and it needs to get better. And that's because they release so many team PvP games, and I love that. Oh, I mean, Overwatch this year, I am all over that. I'm loving it, but it's there's nothing better than sort of having a couch buddy, or someone that you can maybe play online with and share the story with, but have it immersive and deep, and have a leveling up experience and have a sense of progression. And I think, can you imagine 2-player Skyrim? What would that be like? That would be like goodbye life,
I'd be completely okay with that. I would be completely okay with that. I mean, to your point too, I mean, Skyrim was more than just a game. I mean, it was truly an experience. I mean, you don't just have the pretty, but you've got the music, and you've got the interaction between yourself and the other characters, and you've got these different choices that you can make throughout the way that just completely. I don't think you can play Skyrim the same way twice, because of just all the intricacies of interwoven story and different choices you can make, and it was for someone like me who, when I was growing up, like my brother and sister, huge on video games. I wanted nothing to do with them. I was like, you can have the TV, I have my books, I have my Legos, I'm fine. But
Sure.
Skyrim was a game changer in a very big way. And Skyrim was the game that really made me start kind of taking notice and be like, huh, this is more than just smashing buttons and yelling
Well,
at
yeah,
the TV
and there's also extensive amounts of lore in Skyrim, so you can sit and like go to libraries and read all the books and stuff, and it sort of fills out the world. But like you were saying about the choices, there's things about Skyrim that I genuinely wish I filmed my own reaction here, because what I would do is I would try and like push the boundaries of what you can do in the game. So obviously there's good choices and bad choices, and you can break the law if you like. And I had to spend days and days like finding out what can I get away with in these like little stores and things. Like what can you steal and what can you what would they notice? And I try and like rob an entire store just to see if I could get away with it. And then like the jaw-dropping moment was when I walked out of the store, and then these three guys were there saying, "We're here to teach you a lesson." I went, "Oh, okay. What do you mean?" So you chop these guys down, like chop their nuts off, and then like rob their corpses. And then you realize, and it's like they've got this bounty on you, and it says, there's this. I want you to teach RagTagg a lesson. You need not kill him, but it wouldn't be a problem if you did. And I was thinking, oh, I stole that person's jewelry or whatever, and now they want me dead. I just could not believe that. And don't get me wrong, I know that's a really bad way to start off a story by saying I wanted to see how much I could steal. I'd already been through all the good choices and like being the noble warrior and all that, but it just got to a point where I thought, it's like you just want to see what else you can do in the game. So yeah, it's a fantastic game, and not only that, but it's like heavily modded now in the PC. Mm-hmm. So it's just got an infinitely growing universe. So there's so many things you can do. I think if you're on the console, you maybe are sort of limiting what you're able to achieve in the game. So yeah, it's cool.
And that modding has given Skyrim a second life, easily, or even a third life. I mean, when did it come out? I'm just trying to remember when it came out.
So I can tell you it was 2011, because that was a rough year for me actually getting anything done.
Oh, Jesus. That's 5 years. I mean, if our current game cycle, like after a year or two, a game's done. You'll never hear about it.
That's right.
And you're still hearing about Skyrim. People are still playing Skyrim. So
it's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
All right, so let's switch gears just a little bit though, because you have an insanely interesting job. An insanely interesting job.
Yeah, I do. And before I talk about my job, I have to say two things about it. There's certain things I can't talk about, and anything I do talk about, I have to say a disclaimer first. Mm-hmm. And it's just that my views do not reflect the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, and these are my own views. I have to say that before I say anything at all. And there's some things I just can't talk about, but I can tell you about the job in general terms. But yeah, so it is what it says on the tin. The role is firefighter, but that isn't all we do. It's like fire and rescue. So we do a lot of. It's not just fighting fires. It's like road traffic collisions and flooding and persons trapped, and we might have to gain entry to premises that the police cannot do. It's probably different in the States. If the police need to get in somewhere, they might just break the door down. But in Scotland, you have to, you would need the fire service to do that in some situations, depending on what it is. But it's what's crazy about this particular job is that I'm in the on-call business. So that means when something happens, I go, no matter what I'm doing, which is so frustrating right now with Overwatch, because that game, I've been playing the competitive league, and my friends that I play with, I can literally hear their hearts, like shrivel and die, because if you leave a game in Overwatch, it's really difficult to recover from that. You almost cannot win once it goes, one player down, and the person who leaves gets a bit of a penalty. So my rank just got completely decimated. But basically, that it's not just an Overwatch thing. It's just a gamer's point of view. But it's like I can sometimes come home from a day and then I'll sit down with my wife. We'll raise a glass of wine. It's obviously one glass because I would never drink more than one glass while I'm on call. And we would sit there with a curry and then one forkful, and off goes the pager, and that's it. I'm gone, and I might not be back for 2 hours, 5 hours, 8 hours, and it is just a very unpredictable lifestyle. It's extremely volatile in terms of, you know, not knowing where I'm going to be, how long it's going to take. But it's very exciting at the same time, but also it can be extremely dull. So, you know, it can be a false alarm, you know, get down there and then, by the way, we don't need you. All right, okay. And then other times it can, you know, everything can hit the fan and it's really, really serious. So yeah, it's the best job in the world. That's all I'm going to say, because and I don't say that as I'm worried that someone's watching. I genuinely love it because it's a community-based thing, and you can see the impact of what you do as a firefighter. And it's like there's an age-old phrase that we use all the time, and it's because we're kind of like, if you think of the emergency services, you've got the police and you've got the medics, you know, and then you've got us. We are known as the can-do emergency service, and basically that means if you dial the equivalent of 911 in Scotland, it would be 999 here. If you didn't know who to call, just call the fire brigade, call the fire service, because, you know, the fire department will be the ones that will kind of get it sorted. They've got some guys with medic training, and, you know, they've got some guys who can, you know, we've got some stuff, we can put fires out, we can rescue people. It's, you know, it's that kind of job. So the phrase that we live by is every day is a school day. And that's because we have to learn how to do different things all the time. So no one goes into that job with a certain amount of time passed thinking, okay, now you know everything, because we really don't. So that to me is the best part of being a firefighter, is having to learn different ways to accomplish a task or a job. Or basically it's like a creative thing, which is really suited for me on YouTube, because it's the same kind of thing. It's like, how am I going to do this video? It's like, well, how are we going to rescue that person, or how are we going to achieve this task? And, you know, you look at the tools you've got, and then you just have to kind of make it work. I mean, there is protocol. It sounds like we're cowboys. We're not. It's more like there is set things that we must do, but there is also a certain amount of creativity to make sure that, you know, everyone's safe, and but we can adapt to the environment. So it's a lot of variable circumstances. Like something can seem like one thing and then it's not. It can seem like a small fire and then it's a big fire. You know, so it can seem like there's no one around, and then all of a sudden we find there might be someone in a building. It could be anything like that. That's the job. That's a great job.
Wow. This is a curiosity. I guess this is a Scottish thing. You guys don't have like firehouses like we do in America, or is it like, are there differences? Like there is a firehouse, but some people are on call.
Yeah, so it depends on the size of the area. So we do have a firehouse. And do you know what's funny? Because I watch Chicago Fire, like the TV series. I love that because I love comparing the techniques of what those guys do and what we do. But I'll get to answering your question first. There is a firehouse, and that is for the guys that are on shift work, and that is exactly as in the TV series, and that they will do like 12-hour shifts or whatever. So that is for the larger populated station areas basically, and they need people on site all the time. So I'm in one of those in between sort of places where we are close-ish to the big place, to the bigger town, if you like, but we're not close enough, for it to be like firehouse duty. So basically we are on call. So some of the guys have other jobs because they will just sort of commit to a certain amount of time, but some of us just kind of like, we mainly do this kind of thing. But we're pretty busy. So like today I've been out 4 times. So I was out twice this morning and twice today. Later on today, we still have paperwork. We do the same job that the guys do that are on shift work. So they do community visits. They will go around schools and people's houses and help them, make their homes safe for fire safety and awareness. I don't know if they do that in the States or not, but there's one of the important things here is that we actually check people's smoke alarms, make sure they work, and if they don't work, they get given smoke alarms from us. So we give them like plans of what to do. Just little bits of advice, and so basically all of that is more optional if you're on call. But to me, I just do it. So there's me and one of the two of the other guys. We just do it all the time. That in between the call outs, and the call outs is basically the same deal. If you're doing any kind of community event, if the pager goes, you drop whatever you're doing and straight to the fire station. So that's basically the difference. We do the same job, but we're not having to stay on site 12 hours a day. So it's kind of advantageous. Means I can go home. Means I can switch on the PC, play a couple of games. But the downside is you just don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, I mean, that's kind of why I wanted to ask you about that, because I have several friends who are also firefighters. Some of them are professional; they do shift work in the cities, and a lot of them, just because where I grew up, we were out in the rural areas. I mean, we had fire stations where the engines were, but everybody was volunteer. So, I mean, they still did the training, they still did the community visits and things, but like you, they have pagers. You know, if it goes off, I mean, it's a volunteer force. So, I mean, they go and they take care of all that stuff. But, I mean,
yeah, I imagine that's maybe a low. If it's volunteer and you're not getting paid, then I imagine that the call outs are kind of few and far between. Whereas with us, it's a lot. So I don't know what it's like. But it used to be a voluntary fire department. It used to be that, and we're talking decades ago, that people would just, in every rural kind of town, nobody would get paid. There wouldn't even be a firehouse. There would just be a little kind of shed, a garage or something, and they would just sort of park whatever they could in there, and it wouldn't be like a fire engine. It would be like a van. You know, it would be just a little red van that said fire on it, and you would just have like a couple of bits of tools in there. So things have evolved somewhat now, but it really is much more of an active kind of job these days. In that, even if you are out in the sticks, if you're out in the back of the middle of nowhere, the training is mandatory. They still have to kind of do quite a lot of stuff, and they put them on courses and things. So that it's so that if the day comes where you're thrown into something really heavy and you've not been firefighting for a while, you're still able to do your job. So yeah, it is tough.
Although you mentioned afterwards you guys had to do paperwork, I just had this mental image of the movie Hot Fuzz at the very end, like after this shootout and everything, all the people are back at the police station doing all this huge amount of paperwork. I just didn't think firefighters would do paperwork after an incident or something. Had the mental image pop in my head.
About it though, Killer, they'd kind of have to, because it's not just like you're popping the pin on a fire extinguisher. I mean, they're pulling people out. I mean, there's medical things involved.
You never see it in the shows and movies and stuff like that. Which is the reason why Hot Fuzz was making a joke about that. Police procedurals never do that. So
sorry, are you asking if about our post-operation paperwork, or?
That was just making a comment. It's like, I never thought about firefighters have to do paperwork after an incident or something like that.
Yeah, basically every piece of equipment that gets touched gets recorded, and every move that you make gets recorded. So, and it's actually a life learning skill is memorizing, mapping out everything that gets done. Even when we train, it's the same deal. Everything gets documented, and that's so that it's not just like covering your rear kind of videos. Although there is that element, I'm sure, but it's so that there is a trail of everything that ever happened, and that was one of the shockers. But again, unless you're in command and things like that, I think the paperwork is not too bad. It's doable, but I don't see it as as like a chore, because I actually quite like it. It's a very good way to reflect and have a look and see how we can all learn. So yeah, but I think being promoted or anything like that, I think their job, when you get to I think you guys have lieutenants and captains and chiefs. We have similar ranks, but it's just called different things. But anything above firefighter, I wouldn't want to do. It's not worth the hassle, because then it becomes about being responsible for other people and having to answer to higher ups for mistakes that people might make. And when I see the drama in Chicago Fire, I sit and think, that just reminds me why I'm very happy just being a firefighter. It's the best job in the world in that respect.
Simple life of a grunt.
Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with being a grunt.
So it's like, I've seen some organizations take the paperwork thing to the extreme, and it becomes counterproductive. But having that paperwork as a means of, if something goes wrong, we can trace it back what happened, and then we can correct it. So it'll never happen again, or lessen the odds of it happening again.
I know.
That makes perfect sense.
I know it's a cynical way to look at it, but I suppose at the end of the day, it's public safety, and that is the number one kind of concern with everything we do. So that's the way I like to look at it. That we're learning for the greater public good, as opposed to making sure that no one ends up with a head on the blocker.
You're covering your
Oh, cool.
Well done.
All right. So we've talked about firefighting. We've talked about your amazing singing skills, which you can find on iTunes for those listeners who want to go and listen to it. It's amazing. You should do it.
Shameless plug.
Oh, we're not done yet. There'll probably be some video editing. It's like, shameless plug.
Now, you're the one who brought that up, Killer, so
I guess I need to write that
later
down.
when I ask you about that.
Why is it not in the video? Falling down on the job.
Up, Killer.
Why didn't you document it?
Gotta make you start documenting everything, because I can.
Yeah, bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
So then, changing gears.
All right. World of Warcraft. You mentioned at the beginning of the interview that, you didn't actually intend to everything become orcified, and that the orc was just sort of, a character that you had there for this initial video for your friend. So, my next question, going back to the World of Warcraft, what do you normally play when you go in then, if it's not the orc?
Is this a trick question?
No, twist. No twist.
What do I normally play? I do normally play the orc in World of Warcraft. It is an Orc Warrior. In fact, though there is a longer answer, and I do play have played other characters, but essentially what has happened from my experience in World of Warcraft is I am probably a self-confessed, it's called an alcoholic. And that's someone that likes to make loads and loads of different types of characters. So I've always loved doing that. And that has always appealed to me. And it's not just some kind of scouting where because I've been very heavy into the PvP and smashing other players and things like that. So to beat your enemy, understand them, why you should become them. Mm-hmm. I've done a fair bit of that, but I did genuinely used to just enjoy the leveling process. And again, I'm going to sound a bit like a lore junkie, but if someone pinned me down and said, "Do you know about this? Do you know about that?" I love to know about it, but I just don't retain it. So I suppose that is like the perfect kind of setting for an alcoholic, because I'd go through leveling from the beginning to the end with several different types of classes and enjoy it every single time, because I would forget everything I'd seen, just this kind of, like a mind blank. So I did a lot of that, and I used to play, when I started World of Warcraft, this is a kind of people think it's a sore point for me, but it really isn't. I didn't start as an orc when I played. I was a member of the Alliance when World of Warcraft first came out, and I made a gnome mage, and that was my first character ever. And people ribbed me about that and jibed me about it, but really, I really enjoyed myself, and I quite like the this kind of other kind of worldly feel to a mage, where do these powers come from? How can they do that? Like this harness of the elements kind of thing. So I was always into that kind of, aspect of games before World of Warcraft and Baldur's Gate and all that kind of thing. I would always try and play a mage or a warlock or a necromancer. Even in Diablo 2 and Diablo 1, I would try and play the mage as much as I could. I just really enjoyed that sort of thing. But there was always that sort of secret envy whenever I played with someone else and they were playing the warrior, and I thought, oh man, that seems like suicide. Why would you get in there and when you could stand back and do this? And once I just stepped in there and tried it for myself, I just got instantly hooked. And I thought, why would you stand back? Why don't you just get in there? You're missing everything. And it's the same with, I suppose it's the same with firefighting as well, as I like being right in there and not standing back. So the higher up the ranks you would go, you would have to stand back and look at things. I love being toe to toe right in there all the time. So that was basically what I started with. And the Orc Warrior, I actually did try when World of Warcraft first came out, and I didn't actually like it that much, because when Vanilla was first released, I hated the leveling process for an Orc, because by the time you get to level 12, you'd be dying multiple times. It was really imbalanced. It was really difficult to survive. And it wasn't just that I sucked, although I did suck at the game back then. I mean, I was really bad at it. But everyone had the same complaints, and I do admit the skill level overall was lower for everyone back to MMORPGs at the time. But really, I think just surviving as a melee was tricky. So so my other characters that I played was I used to play a shaman. And in Wrath of the Lich King, when that expansion came out, I was doing a lot of high-level PvP, and that was in the arena, and I was just really enjoying that. And I was a restoration shaman for us, so I like healing people and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of people find this quite odd to understand. They look at my channel and they think, this guy's a warrior, this guy's an orc. And what was this about a gnome mage, and why are you healing people? And, so they were the places I came from. But for looking forward to where I'm going to be over the next year, it will be Orc Warrior all the way, one character, and that is mainly due to just time, because I've been looking at other games that are coming out. There's this remixed Skyrim of Enderal, this mod that's come out. There's Final Fantasy 15. There's Overwatch right now, and there's just so many things I want to do, and I would like to compete with some of these games, not maybe at the top level, but like a mid-level. And again, it's just because of this on-call thing. I want to be able to do the best I can, but I know I can only ever be a mid-level player. And by mid, I mean pretty good. I don't mean, like your average Joe that just sort of steps in for an hour or two. I mean, quite a few hours a day competitive. But yeah, so for that to work, I moved my World of Warcraft character. There was like 11 of them on one server, and I've moved this guy to a server by himself so that I don't get tempted to pool my resources, which is what I've always done. I've always used the professions. I know this guy's got leatherworking, this guy's got blacksmithing. I can use this to make this one for this guy, and this one to make this one. I'll make gold doing this for that character. And it was just a very convenient thing. And it ultimately just ended up with me spending more time in the game, because I'd be like, now the chores for this hero is this, and this, and then move to hero number 2. So basically the altaholic in me was, it was just a real time sink. So the time for the Orc Warrior, as far as RagTagg is concerned, is now, and there's going to be a lot of videos all about that. So yeah, that's pretty much the way things are. Even though the last year I've been playing different types of heroes as well. So there you go.
And it makes sense too, because I mean, you're looking at it from two different perspectives. From the gamer perspective, I mean, you've gone through, you've played these different characters, you've done these different things, and you've gotten, I would argue, a lot more out of the gaming experience than people that just go in, they pick one character at the very beginning, and that's all they ever do. And the reason I brought up the question in the first place is, in reference to the videos that you've done, what are the 5 best things about being this character? And then what are the 5 best things about being this character? And it was really interesting to me, because so many gamers just get in sort of this rut as to, this is who I am as a gamer, so this is the only character I'm going to play. And it's the only character they play through Skyrim and, World of Warcraft and Overwatch and whatever. It's the same sort of experience over and over again. Whereas in your videos, I mean, you expand, you try different things, and that's part of what's entertaining to watch. But then, to your point, as you start, I mean, you're limited with what time that you can devote to it. There is something to be said for consistency when you're building a fan base, and as we mentioned over the last year, you've gone from just doing YouTube videos here and there to you have a Twitch channel now. I mean, you have people that tune in to watch you for this particular character.
Yeah, and talking on that's something that I've had to adjust to, not in terms of the streaming, but because in the last sort of 6 months I have been playing other characters. It's always a little disheartening when I'm streaming if I decide I'm just going to have a look and see what changes, because they bring out a new patch and they'll say, this is changing what we'll do, and I'll go on the hero and see what's changed, and then someone will come into the stream and say, hey, RagTagg, why are you not playing your Orc Warrior, you ball-busting beast? I'm like, well, because I have other characters and I like to use them. And it's like, I have a rogue, I love my rogue, I like my shaman, I like my mage, I'll say all those things. And like when Legion Beta came out and the Alpha, I was one of the early testers in that. So when the Demon Hunters were in, I had a good look at them. I was one of the first people to actually get on, on Alpha Live. And it was really exciting, but it's quite difficult for people to see RagTagg stream the character, when it's just me. I think a lot of people expect me to talk like that orc when I come on the stream, and it's actually kind of painful to do that after a while. So I've got to limit the amount of gruff I put into my voice. And that's the main adjustment about variety that you are correct. I mean, it's like people really do love the idea of sort of getting lots of different types of content, and it would get old real fast just to just show the same thing again and again. So I think that's an important part for me, not to get bored as well, is to have diversity. So that's why over the next year I'll be playing other games, and that will be my diversity as opposed to other heroes. But it's not that I won't do other heroes ever, because the 5 Reasons series that you mentioned, and by the way, see those videos, no end of grief they have caused me, because I labeled them 5 reasons you shouldn't level a rogue or shouldn't do this. And wow. they're anti-guides, and when people don't realize I'm being sarcastic, that I actually love the class, and people like write me these like massive rants saying you've no idea what you're talking about, RagTagg, rogues are amazing, and I'm like, I know that, did you not get that? It was like,
apparently you didn't watch the video. Your sarcasm meter is completely whack.
Yeah,
I know. A little from column A, a little from column B.
Oh. Yeah, it is staggering, but yeah. So I think the idea of creating more of those videos is going to happen, just to annoy people that take it seriously. I've done the same thing today. I released something about how to beat endgame raids with 6 people, and I've actually taken 6 people through like the Firelands from like 5 years ago or something like that, and made this really serious guide on how to defeat the bosses with only 6 people, where in actual fact you could walk up and just slay everything in one hit. But no doubt that will get loads of comments of people saying, don't you realize, you can actually solo this? It's like, yeah, I kind of get it.
That's the joke.
But that's the internet, eh? So it takes all sorts.
It does.
So, and just because, we when we talked earlier about, you kind of accidentally fell into this. It started off with a video, kind of a sarcastic video for your friend, and then more and more people started watching these different things as you put them out. You've hit that sort of level now where, you've got more and more eyes on you. You've got fans all across the globe. You've got people writing into you to, either praise or, condemn you for these different things that you put in your videos. And you mentioned at the beginning, too, about, in Scotland, you don't ever really think of yourself as, I'm doing this really cool thing. It's just like, whatever, it's crap, go on. As you've gotten more and more popular, as you've gotten more and more people reaching out to you, and, whether positive or negative, what has been the strangest thing about kind of achieving this level of quasi-celebrity status?
Oh boy. Yeah, the strangest thing. I'm still not in a place where I feel like I've gained as much traction as I have, until I think back to how things were. So the strangest thing is being recognized in games when I'm just minding my own business. Mm-hmm. That's the strangest thing. And it's because when I play other multiplayer games, I do call myself RagTagg. And I actually need to stop doing that, because when I was in Overwatch, just people constantly say, oh my God, are you the real RagTagg? And I used to just say, yeah, Zog, it's like, whatever. And I'd be like, yeah, good to meet you, man. And that feels really dismissive, but I was kind of accepting that it was me, blah, blah. But now if people say, are you the real RagTagg? I say, no, I'm just a fan. It's like, I don't even tell them anymore. But it was like, before I was so happy that someone had recognized me, and I thought, wow, that means that people that play this game also play World of Warcraft and have somehow watched a video, so that was the strangest thing for me, is that actually realizing that the World of Warcraft stuff had reached further. Because I've always, and I still kind of believe this, but I always kind of thought that World of Warcraft must make up about 90% of the audience. In my head, that's what I kind of think. And when I make other games, I just think that maybe, that's just the World of Warcraft people getting the sort of the extra sort of bit of entertainment in, or whatever. But I'm being told that some people only subscribe to my channel for the Skyrim, and say when I get certain amounts of views on those videos, that those are people that will only watch that content and nothing else. And I really find that quite difficult to believe. And it's the same with Overwatch. in that the last kind of, I don't know what's happened to my channel, but I get really slow growth. And I know I can always say, okay, I've got more subscribers than Black, but I've got less than this. And no matter what level I get to, I'll always say I've got less than this, but more than that. But more focusing on the, how small I am, I guess. The Overwatch stuff in the last sort of 2 weeks has just blown up. And by blowing up to me, that's like a video getting like 50,000 views in say a week. That's a lot to me. But it's not a lot to, say, some of the top level YouTubers. But to me, that was serious growth. And those people, when they subscribed, are now probably just expecting Overwatch content and may not play World of Warcraft due to the, I guess it's due to the kind of games that first-person shooters people play, like CSGO and games like that, Call of Duty. They may not be so interested in World of Warcraft. So I'm getting those sorts of comments now, which is great. But yeah, that's a strange one, is just definitely being recognized, and now it's just a case of, I'm a fan. So that will be my response. In fact, if anyone meets me and I say I'm a fan, you probably know it's the real one. So
or is it?
Yeah, I've done that in a few videos recently. I even did that in the last song I put out. Did it, or am I?
Yeah. I hadn't thought of it that way, but so Killer will laugh about this a little bit. The whole thing about identity between games and streaming and and who the actual person is behind those personas just always fascinates me. It's why we started on Tab, is just to get to know the people, behind, the orc voice, or the crazy, we joke about, my husband does game streams as well, the crazy voice guy, or just these different personas that people put out. And the names are often a very big part of those personas too. We do a couple of other podcasts and some different shows, and I'm usually listed as the Baroness von Gosu. It started off as just, I was doing a radio spot last minute as a favor to somebody else. I didn't have, everyone else used their gamer tag, but because my actual, what I game under is so close to my real name, I was told I couldn't do that. So I was just like, all right, well, I was engaged at the time. I became the Baroness. I didn't expect it to be anything, but it's kind of interesting because, when I interact with people, I do mostly writing things, but there are people who know my work under the name of the Baroness, and then there's people who know my work under different names. And it's interesting how those different groups kind of interact. If they think they're dealing with the one persona versus the other persona. So it was just listening to you talk about, the people that write in and, recognizing you in games under, RagTagg, it just reminded me of that.
Yeah. It's funny, there's a couple of things to tell you. When I first saw your name, the Baroness, I was like, oh my God, I'm intimidated. I'm worried here. When she starts speaking to me, I will listen, So it's funny what the name invokes in people's minds. I can tell you the origins of my name as well. RagTagg is a derivative. I love movies, by the way. Movies is basically so kind of important to me in my life. I love watching characters and progression of characters and seeing other people's journeys. And I watched this movie called Gangs of New York. Leonardo DiCaprio and Daniel Day-Lewis and Liam Neeson, and just mega stars in it. And it's just got so many quotable lines. And me and my friend, we used to just play the PlayStation together all the time, just online, just find whatever co-op games we could. And we would always be on voice chat, and we would always be confusing other people in voice chat by quoting these movies. So we'd just say, what movie should we do? Like, we'll do Troy, and then we'll start quoting all the lines from that, and then we would do Gangs of New York, and that's basically one of the lines in that is that he would say, there's a is this what you're going to fight me with, a handful of ragtags or something like that? And I thought, ragtag, there it is, that's it. So the name was just born from a movie quote, but I'm really into movies, and these sort of one-liners have quite a special impact, which is kind of interesting to me in terms of the YouTube persona of RagTagg is quite impactful. He's quite a extreme character. He's all about violence, and he's all about the extrovert, and everything he says is kind of like a big statement. Even if it's a really goofy thing he says, sometimes he'll say something that will sound really violent, really edgy, and other times he'll say something and it just sounds downright stupid. And, that's one of the things that I like about giving voice to him. And the other thing I like about it is that in real life, I'm not really that extrovert. And my star sign, as the month I'm born, is Leo the lion, so I should be. But it just kind of comes out in this form only. I'm really quiet. If you put me in a room of people in a party or something like that, I'll be the guy that kind of mingles by sort of standing around on the outside of the circle with my drink. And if people don't talk to me, I'll sit down and I'll just drink my drink. And then, like a Scot, I'll just have my whiskey without ice, by the way. And then just take that. And in Scotland, it's considered a bit strange to add water to whiskey or ice. People who know their whiskey don't do that. But yeah, so in real life, I'm a little bit more I wouldn't say shy, but I just don't have a lot to say. So if someone would like to say something to me, I'm more than happy. And I'm a very community-orientated kind of person. I like talking to people, but I really don't know how to start conversations. I really suck at that. So it's something that I tried to work on and realized it's just not going to happen. So socially, I'm so different from RagTagg. So the streaming was a kind of a difficult thing to get into in the way that, again, it's the Scottish upbringing. I didn't think anyone would be interested in what I've got to say. And it's the same even now when I sit and think about what will my next video be. I still sit and think, is anyone going to care if I speak outside the RagTagg persona? I don't know if anyone's going to want to hear this. It's probably boring. So yeah, that's basically, I feel like I'm just the master of underwhelm. I think I can do understatement all the time, just like fully think I'm rubbish at everything. So I think if I was like a Winnie the Pooh character, I would definitely be Eeyore. I'm not intending to be. It's just because I'm full of doom and gloom in terms of what I think people, perceive my entertainment like. I don't think I'm a particularly bad person, but I just think that, in terms of what I churn out, I don't think I'm funny in the least, but, people tell me I am. So I think the other thing about this, though, is it's difficult to make me laugh at entertainment. So if you show me a video and say, hey, man, you're going to find this funny, or you'll really like this comedian, I'll say, I doubt it. I really doubt it. And it makes you feel like a real buzzkill, because the idea of comedy to me, this is changing the subject, by the way, but the idea of comedy to me is the comedy has a structure and a routine, and and it's all put together. And for some annoying reason, I can see the way that it forms. Now, I'm not some kind of mathematician where I can just join all the dots together, but with comedy, I can just do that, and I hate myself for it. So because of that, when someone does something in a comedy movie, if you think of it like this, if you watch a rom-com, romantic comedy movie, you can always guess what's going to happen. Boy meets girl after 20 minutes, after 40 minutes, they're really in love. After 60 minutes, he does something stupid or she does something stupid, and then they fall out. By the last 10 minutes, they're back together. And every comedy routine or anything that is funny, kind of is clear to me very early on. So I almost never laugh at a prepared joke, almost never. I think Deadpool was the last time I laughed at, a movie or something that was intended to be funny. So
from the outset, actual, yeah. I can see how knowing that how everything is forming together takes the joy. It doesn't make the joke funny anymore.
Oh man, it sucks the soul right out of it. That's what
I
it
know.
does to
Yeah,
me.
completely.
That's why I think I'm not funny.
That.
Yeah, because sometimes I'll make a joke and it'll be planned. A lot of other times I just talk and then something spontaneous will happen, and that's my favorite kind of comedy, is where I just talk and then I think reactive humor is quite good. It's just very difficult to get right. It's also why my videos are usually less than 5 minutes, because I try to sort of capture that, and if I can't capture that, I don't like doing set pieces, mainly because I can see it and I look at it and I feel sick because I can see the rhythm. And even things like the way the voice goes up and down and intonation, I do that deliberately sometimes, and it's because that is what comedians do as well. They sort of set the voice up to create a certain amount of tension, and then they'll deliver a punchline or they'll deliver something that they think is incredibly funny or witty. Where I'm just sitting there going, so here we are.
Yeah. Like Rain Man or something.
Oh my god, no. Not even close. But yeah, I suppose. Same reaction, just not the same person. Yeah.
No.
Oh, goodness. Well, we'll let the viewers decide for themselves. You can catch RagTagg on his Twitch channel. His schedule is posted up underneath his main viewer thing, kind of like what we have here at RivalCast Media. But as he mentioned earlier in this recording, don't be surprised if his pager goes off. He has to go off and save people, so it's all good. But
yeah, it happened the other day. It actually just happened the other day. I call it a chair stream. Basically, it's where I stream my black chair. That's it for and I did that the other day for 3 hours solid. My pager went about 30 minutes into it, and I was in a guild raid, so I felt really bad about it because my guild leader was on TeamSpeak as well, and we're all talking away. And then this massive beeping sound just happened, and he'd never heard it before, so he didn't know what the hell was going on. But yeah, it was just a chair stream from there on. But so yeah, the times are meant to be what is mentioned there, but they do kind of get subject to change, and I just update that on Twitter.
Put a little post-it on the back of the chair, if you can read this, I'm off doing something awesome.
That's an amazing idea. Someone else said I should just put a picture of my face, and just sort of put it on the back of the chair and just leave the thing on swivel,
That's not a bad idea. But yeah, definitely check him out. You can also catch his stuff on YouTube. It's under youtube.com/ragtag. Wow is the channel to go and look at, and it's definitely worth the time. Like I said, I wasn't even interested in World of Warcraft. Somebody sent me over just a video of one of the Skyrim streams, and I just had so much fun with it that I had to watch, the other things, and it's just, I've always been of the opinion that really good artists tend to be the type that don't think they do particularly good work, and that's kind of what drives them to keep doing better and better stuff. And I think you see that on this channel, but like I said, we'll let the viewers decide. You can check them out there. Killer, did you have any final questions? RagTagg, did you have any questions for us? We'll turn the tables a little bit.
Yeah, no, the only question I had is how did you find my channel? You said it was something to do with Skyrim, but who was it, and how did that happen? Because that is something that always always interests me. I don't know if anyone.
So RivalCast, I think I mentioned this before. So RivalCast is a multi-streamer channel. So we have we have people who do, gosh, what does Varro do? He does Overwatch, he does XCOM, he does
he hasn't done Overwatch yet.
Well, he does
shooter games and strategy games.
We have one that does World of Warcraft. We have some that play horror games. So our community, people come in for a certain streamer, and then if they really like the stuff, they stick around, they start watching other people, and then they see I do a lot of the moderating in chat. So I get to know a lot of the different people, and it was one of the community members was just like, hey, we know that you like Skyrim, and we know that you like funny things, so you need to watch this. And I was like, oh, all right. It was back in, gosh, December, something like that. It was a long time ago.
Oh right, okay. No, it's just good to know, because the Skyrim stuff I'm still releasing just in little pieces now and again. I do want to do more, but yeah, there's plenty to come on the horizon, I'm sure.
That's plenty of stuff to look forward to then.
Good.
All right, well, that about wraps it up for this week. Again, thank you, RagTagg, for hanging out with us. And
yes, thank you.
For the rest of you, we shall see you again next Friday night in our normal live and in-person selves, and hopefully with Bio with us. But from all of us here at RivalCast Media, cheers.